Time for a race. It is Super Saturday and we're at Bowmanville, Ontario, or at least just outside it. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, one of the jewels in the crown of IMSA racing. Compact, 10 corners, 2.459 miles, I suppose as we're in Canada, 3.9k. Action areas, turn 5, Moss Corner, it's all happened there this week so far. Turn 8, well, it's big commitment there, but we haven't seen so much going on. This is a flowing circuit that follows the contours of a very green and pleasant area here in Canada. It's also got history. What history this place has. Slightly overcast, one or two little fluffy white clouds for the Canadian Tire Motorsport 120 here for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Air temperature 26 Celsius, track temperature 40 Celsius. In Fahrenheit, that's 79 in the air, 104 on the track for the Michelin tyres. It's John Hindhaugh and Ryan Marine in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Our BTO pit lane reporter Arjuna Kankapati. Let's go down to Arjuna and get his thoughts on the race as we've got the heart of racing on pole position, and now both of the Hannahs have had hammer time and scored pole positions in the last two races.
Just waiting for the tiebreaker in the best-of-3 match, potentially. But, John, the GS class in qualifying mixed up by a red flag in qualifying, and those that were had their pit boxes at the end of pit lane were actually able to get out and set additional lap times. What that means is, talking up and down the pit lane, teams have got multiple strategy options, and they can't just rely on committing to a one-stop strategy. Slightly different when you go back to the TCR class, though, where it does seem to be pretty simple. They've got the fuel, including on this first stint with the formation lap included, to get to the 1 hour mark. Their only concern, the front Michelin tires, as they put the horsepower of the engine and try to steer the car as well through the front tires. That's where they're expecting a little bit more pain, but pretty simple strategy call down in TCR.
And in TCR, Ryan Marine, it's another back-to-back pole position for MMG, and this time it is actually the same driver who's qualified on pole twice running.
How about what LP Montour has done over the last couple of weeks? It was a dominant pole position at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. He really had to fight for it, though, here to get the pole just ahead of Rocco Pasquarella, who's been something of a qualifying revelation over the course of the 2026 season up to this point. But only the slightest of margins separating those two, but it means it's a Honda sweep of the front row in TCR. That was not a session interrupted by red flags in the way that the GS class qualifying was, so I do think that tells the tale. Honda, at least over a single lap, does seem to have the edge this weekend.
And interesting, we heard in our pre-race show that those two starting drivers have had a chat together about what they do off the line. Clearly they are fighting each other in a championship, but they're both representing Honda, and they've realized that it can't all be won on the run down to the first corner.
Prudent, I think, for those two to put their heads together, talk through the way they expect this start to play out. And we heard LP say, hey, we can't win the race on the first lap, as the old adage goes, but you sure can throw it away. So they'll try to get through turn 1 cleanly and then take the fight to one another from there.
What about the fact that we've got some very fast TCR cars at the front of the field? Perhaps here, not quite as much of an issue for LP, for Rocco, for Bryson Morris, who sits in third, on any restarts that we get, because the GS cars, if you're not used to this racing, all of the GS cars will always go ahead of all the TCRs. Now, it was an interrupted session, as Arjuna said, but actually there was only one GS car that qualified faster than LP. Restart's going to be an issue?
I think they very well could be. To your point, that qualifying result maybe doesn't tell the full story, but what I can say is across the two combined practice sessions, the best TCR time was 15th overall. Only 14 GS cars posted faster times, and the majority of them were really close to that fast TCR time. So on subsequent restarts, should we get any? Yes, there's a real probability that the TCR frontrunners start to trip over the back of the GS field.
That's all conjecture at the moment. We're about to find out how it all lays out in the next 2 hours. We've put 2 hours on the race clock. We're at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the 120-minute race for this current round of the Michelin Pilot Challenge 2026. There are 29 GS GT4 cars coming to the line, then a little bit of gap, then we'll start the TCR's green flag in the air. It's a nice, clean start in the sunshine, side by side. Aston Martin and Ford Mustang. Hannah Grenmeyer down the inside, trying to hold on to that pole position. She hasn't been able to do it. It was an outside move by Paul Holton. He'll leave over the top of the rise and down into Clayton Corner for the first time. Meantime, the TCR's come to the line. LP Montour trying to hold his pole position advantage from Rockwell Pasquarella. It didn't seem to be quite as elbows out as the GS start was, but it is Team TGM and Paul Holton, Ryan Marine, that leads out halfway around the first lap.
Well, I thought we might see Paul get aggressive to take the lead at the start. They've had a miserable year. Oh, contact there. Hannah tipped around.
By Caio Chavez in the Pan Am Motorsport GR coming up to Moss Corner. We highlighted it in the pre-race. That's where all of the action's been. Now, if Hannah can't get that car started, she's going to have to wait for all the TCRs. It's got full course yellow. Full course yellow. That has saved a whole lot of real estate for Harter Racing. The Ibiza farm car is off as well. Moise Uretsky, championship implications here as well at the sharp end of the field. He went off further round and gets back in now. This will be a short, what's called a short yellow, because it's so close to the beginning of the race. We will not open the pit lane. Also going slowly, Harrison Goodman for BSI Racing in another one of the Supras. That's got left front damage. This all started with Caio Chavez. He's right down the inside, bumps on the curb. Hannah had given him, I think, enough room, spinning out to the right-hand side, one of the Mustangs as well. But what happened further down, looked like Moise got a little tap from behind as well. How there wasn't more carnage in there, Ryan Marine, I have no idea whatsoever.
Well, really heads-up driving from the bulk of the field. Remember, this happened at the very front of the field. Everybody checked up from the onboard shot we just got from Moise Uretsky. He had front-to-rear contact with the car in front of him. He was hit from behind as well. Then a three-wide moment where he was trying to avoid the accident and ended up getting spun around with a third piece of contact there. So that's a really fast McLaren that's going to have to come from the back, it would seem. And similar frustrations for the Becumby McAleer team with their car spun out of great track position too.
95 cars entered a closed pit. The pits have been closed. They will not open this early to the front of the grid. It was Robert Noaker that Moise Uretsky ran in the back of his car, and that Becumby McAleer Racing has got to the back. And the 95 Turner Motorsport car goes behind the wall. The BMW straight behind the wall, Ryan. Massive news.
Wow, this is the championship leading car in GS, and they had a really big lead going into Watkins Glen, and it looked like they were set to extend it, but you'll recall there was the issue with the curbing late in the race. A piece of that came up. That car took damage. They had a DNF, scored very few points, and they therefore saw their championship lead condensed to just 60 entering this weekend, and now that car goes behind the wall as well. What do they say? When it rains, it pours, and even on a sunshiny day here in Canada, it is pouring on Turner Motorsport.
If the race was to end now, it would be Austin Grant and Stephen McAleer who would lead the Grand Sport points by 40 from Bryce Ward on his own, from the Luke Mars and Dylan McAvern car in third position. Oh my good. Oh, the pits have been opened. The pits have been opened for all cars. We must be about to restart, so it will open only as the last cars go through. Yellow lights still on. Now it's the green lights, and the green flag is in the air. Paul Holton gets the restart. and immediate moves, too wide, long way back through the GS. All the GS cars have gone back to ahead of the TCRs. So Hannah Greenmeyer now, from second as she was, having been bumped down to 26th position, and has to pull that car up. A little bit of fuel saved for all of the cars. It won't matter so much in TCR, other than that they can possibly do a slightly shorter stop, because they wouldn't take on so much VP racing fuel. But in GS, I wonder, even if those couple of laps, Ryan Marine, behind the Chevrolet Corvette, the beautiful blue Chevrolet Corvette safety car, might just be having some people recalculate, recalibrate their strategies, particularly if they are now down the GS field.
Yeah, that definitely could change the calculus a little bit. Michael Cooper told us in the pre-race they had a few different strategy options. I suspect, though, they're already down to options 5 or 6, given the way this race is started for that team.
It's option Z in many ways, I think, John and Ryan, for Turner Motorsports. Quick word with Will Turner. The contact made on the right front has broken the suspension, and so behind the wall they will go to try and fix it up, send it back out onto track, and recover any points that they can. I think a similar story to be said for BSI and their Toyota. It's left front suspension damage for them. I saw the wheel wobbling around as it was sat up on the air jacks, but that's two cars that are going to go behind the wall for suspension repairs.
Still haven't worked out how the BSI car actually was involved in all that. It's bright red, it's pretty difficult to miss, but there was so much going on and so much incidental contact caused by Caio Chavez and Haya Greenmeyer coming together in their battle for second, coming up to the right-hander at turn 5, Moss Corner. Race Control have looked at that. They have assessed that as shared responsibility, no further action. So Caio Chavez continues unimpeded in second place. Hannah Greenmeyer maybe gets the worst end of that. She's already made up a couple of positions, and oh no, Bryce Ward, what a difference a race weekend makes. Winward Racing, he's off at Moss Corner. Winner last time out at Watkins Glen. Doesn't seem to be too much damage on the BDO Tecamet, with the AMG with the flag of the great state of Texas proudly on the roof. Well, what happened there? Paul Holton goes through. We stayed green, by the way. Bryce found reverse, so he'll now drop all the way at the back. And again, as we mentioned, Ryan, that's another championship contender. These, as he was standing there, he was in second position in the championship on points. This could be another big mix-up, another tumble dryer day for the championship in GS.
If you want to know how wacky the start to this race has made the championship battle, remember that graphic we saw? There it is again. Crines and McAleer, the championship leaders. John, they came into this race 5th, and now they're up to 1st the way that they're running right now. Admittedly, we're only 8 minutes into this race, so a whole lot can change, but it goes to show how quickly the championship can turn on its head.
Nate Cicero, Robert Noack, number 13 car, they were involved in that incident but got going again. They would be 40 back. The Ibiza Farms 44 team and the Turner Mars McAvern car, the number 95, that they are both 90 back in joint 3rd at the moment. Absolutely incredible in Grand Sport as we move into the second half of the season. We've not even had 10 minutes running here at the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge for Canadian Time Motorsport 1:20. And that 95 car behind the wall, also now behind the wall. So that's the Turner car behind the wall, as we reported. Also BSI's Toyota, Harrison Goodman behind the wall, side by side into turn 1. Take a deep breath, everybody. It could all get very, very nasty indeed, but they've managed to sort themselves out. Porsche in with McLaren, and that's a TCR leader right there as well. LP Montour looking at Moise Uretsky and Jonathan Brown and Vin Barletta, and LAP Scott Thompson in the number 30 car. And this is the part of the track, the early part of the track, the sinuous run from the start-finish line to probably the exit of Moss Corner. The TCRs are so quick through there, and the battle for the lead, LP Montour, and I think that's Bryson Morris behind him for the battle for the lead, as ahead is Rocco Pasquarello. So Pasquarello is now in the lead of TCR, top three coming out of Moss Corner.
Nose to tail as well. What a tight battle it is. Couple of Hondas, then you get into the thick of the Hyundai fight. Pasquarello, though, just got ahead of Montour. It was super close between the two of them in the qualifying session. Speaking of qualifying, we've talked about the red flag that interrupted the GS class. It was Ford Koch that had the issue in that session. That car had to start dead last in GS. Ford has driven that car up to 10th already. We're only 10 minutes into the race.
Yeah, sitting, looking at the back of our own Choxy in the Toyota, the two Toyotas there running 9th and 10th. And credit Ford and his ability to avoid the chaos and carnage. That must have been some quick hands, as well as he came across cars strewn all over the track at Moss Corner. Battle for the lead in TCR, heating up again. The two Hondas first and second, then the battle for third, and Sam Baker, the birthday boy, is right there as they're going past Scott Thompson as they go through Quebec Corner, turn 3, and the TCRs are able to drive all the way around the outside of that GS car. Scott just trying to lift off and feather out the throttle, I think, to allow Sam Baker, and then it was Stephen Clemens in the grey Cupra Leon, the number 99 car for Victor Gonzalez Racing. Dean Baker's not that far away there in the next of the Audis, and in fact Rafa Race is also there for Stallion Motorsports in the Cupra. This is getting very interesting, very, very early indeed. The TCRs with no real issues on fuel. We have to mention, though, in terms of strategic calls, Ryan, there is a minimum driver time that might play into GS, particularly about when they stop.
Yeah, that's right. 40 minutes is what each driver must do. Time spent in the pit lane, by the way, doesn't count. So for the handful of cars that have gone through the pits already, they'll have to factor that into their calculations. So we will probably see a few teams, those that are committed perhaps to not doing this in just the one stop, letting that minimum drive time expire, especially if there's a big speed disparity between the two drivers in the lineup. So we might see them get the starting driver out, commit to 2 stops early, hope to catch the yellow, and then also rely on the pace of the pros in some of these lineups that are more split along pro and am lines.
This battle at the back of the GS field is outstanding. But Moise Areski battling with the red, white and black number 3 CSM Porsche. This has massive, massive championship implications at the a little bit further around the track. We've got the recovering Bryce Ward, and he is driving like a man possessed at the moment. He got bumped all the way down to 27th position, and he's just gone past Ted Giovannis in the Ford Mustang and heads off onto the Andretti straight through the curving, the right-handed curving part of the track that's called the Mario Andretti straight. Anything but, and anything but flat either. 2 or 3 quite significant rises. These GT4 cars stretching the springs and dampers as they come up over the top of the rise before they settle the car down to turn right-handed into the first part of the S's at turn 8. Meantime, at the front of the field, it's the other team TGM Ford Mustang. Paul Holton under pressure now from Caio Chavez, Ryan, as they come out of the Moss Corner complex.
Well, Caio got the stay of execution, didn't he? When race control opted to view that contact with the Aston as a racing incident. So he has his head down now and has the leader in his sights. I speculated off the top that Paul might be a bit aggressive to try and get a result here, having been one of those that capitalized on their pit lane position to have an extra crack at things in that interrupted qualifying session. This is a team that desperately needs something to go their way. Unbelievably, they've had 4 straight DNFs. Best finish this season is a 12th, all the way back in January at Daytona. And this is a lineup that saw one of the two drivers take a championship in GS not so long ago. So we know the team's capable, we know the drivers are capable, but they have had no luck, if not for bad luck, over the course of 2026.
Talking about people who have improved, you rightly pointed out Ford Koch now up into 10th position. What about Hannah Greenmeyer? Was in second, dropped all the way to the back of the GS field. All right, she got shuffled past the TCR cars before she restarted, but she was late 20s. She's now in 14th position and right with Sean McAllister in the BMW. Great comeback from Hannah Greenmeyer, who must have been absolutely gutted when she got turned around, and then facing the oncoming traffic, had to watch the whole of the TCR field go through as well. That's happened to me once in my very brief racing career, and there's nothing worse than watching the field go by you, knowing even if you've got your engine running that you can't pull out into that traffic. And when it's somebody else who's tipped you around, that's going to make that feeling even worse. Just me, been there, Croft.
I envy that, not at all.
Leading Padam. Oh, another car going slowly, and it's Bob McCallion, Core Motorsport, and he was having a decent run as well, up in the top 10. He was in 7th position in the number 59. He shares with Billy Johnson. I'm trying to put Billy in a different car earlier on, but that is the Billy Johnson car as well. And on the back straight, that car moving slowly. Now we'll cover that with waved yellows and white cars moving slowly, Flags, but the first place has changed, Ryan.
Yep, Chavez got around Holton. That must have been just a few corners ago. Holton's trying to come back on the Brazilian, but not sure that there's the pace in the Mustang to do it. The Supra has been the dominant platform of the weekend so far. We didn't really get a chance to see that because of that red flag in the qualifying session. Really, it was just this Pan Am Motorsports car that had the good qualifying results from the Supra contingent, but I wouldn't be surprised to see more of those Supras make their way forward as the race progresses, given the pace we've seen out of the car through the 2 practice sessions.
Right now, something interesting has happened. Hannah Greenmeyer has pitted for Harter Racing and gone back out again. We'll get our junior to work out if there was something, go and ask the team if there was something wrong with the car after that first lap 5th corner incident, or whether they've topped her off and put her back out there in a bit of clear air to try and run that car long. That wouldn't be the worst thing to do, because she's shown really good speed here, and that might just work in their favour. Should there be another yellow flag, then they'll have to stop slightly shorter amount of time for fuel, but if there's no more safety car intervention, then they can go longer into the race. Damage at the back of the Toyota Supra, the white, blue and orange car. That is the number 23, and it's the left rear of that car, Ryan, for Ford Koch, the man from Charleston, South Carolina, and that car's been in the wars.
He has, not just today, but again yesterday. That was down in Moss Quarter 2, where he made the big impact with the tire bundles. But great job by the team and driver as well to get that car back in contention to be able to come through the field, and it's been an inspired drive to this point to get up to 8th now.
Word from pit lane, John, the number 59 core car might have lost the half shot. That was the word from Billy Johnson, but I've got Evan Slater with me now. The number 60 car sits in the podium spots. Mike Skeen behind the wheel now. Evan, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great so far. We started the weekend a little bit tough. We had some issues, but we did a lot of tweaking on the car overnight, and we got the car really in a good window. Mike did a killer job on the start. I mean, his experience, he put the car right in the right position. People were wrecking in front of him, and he sneaked right through. So he was doing a great job, and we're happy with how we're running right now.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah, thank you.
Had an incident at turn 4, and the LAP Scott Thompson car is one of a number of cars involved. The Corvette safety car will be coming out. This has already been called as a short yellow. You don't have a small incident down at the bottom of the hill. It's halfway up the hill, actually. There's at least 2 cars involved. Scott was running well up the field in the LAP red, white and black car. We've already got the AMR safety team involved. The other car that is at the side of the circuit there, I think is a TCR car, and I think it's the Victor Gonzalez Racing Dr. Will Talley car, the number 21. Yes, it is. And the front of that car is destroyed. That's been 2 big impacts coming down the hill over the top of the rise at effectively turn 3.5, and the track has been neutralized. The race has been neutralized. Dr. Will Talley is out of the car. He gives the universal shrug to say, I have no clue what just happened there. And Scott Thompson's car at the side of the road as well. Now, good news, bad news. If, as we think, and we'll get Arjuna to check this, if Harter Racing pulled Hannah Greenmeyer in to top that car off, then they will be able to turn that car around very, very quickly indeed, and should jump everyone else because they will need far less fuel. They might even elect not to stop Ryan and just take the track position as they'd just top that car off.
I'm not sure how many will take this opportunity to pit, because this yellow will put everybody in a window, I suspect, where a one-stop strategy could potentially be a possibility, and we're not quite in that window yet where those that want to get their starting driver out, I mean, we haven't reached their minimum time yet. So anyway, we'll see what ends up happening. Oh my goodness, just saw the replay there, and that was absolutely massive. Both cars got up in the air, Thompson more so than Talley, but boy, that was huge, and happy to see William Talley walk away. We saw Scott get out of the car, but he's still being attended to by the medical personnel, and you'd understand why they'd want to take their time with that one, John. That was a big, big hit.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Just a bit of housekeeping. The Turner Motorsport has come from behind the wall, and then it's been reported for entering a closed pit from behind the wall, where they can't help that. But I understand why that's been reported. They did come into a closed pit before, so they'll get, before they went behind the wall, so they'll get pinged for that when we go back green for entering the original closed pit. Plenty of time being taken on this incident, as you might imagine. A significant impact by both of those cars. Now, I know the TCR cars in particular look like little front wheel drive hatchbacks, but they were never street cars. They have been built as racing cars. It was a tangle between Scott Thompson and Dr. William Talley. Looked like the Cupra, Dr. Talley's car, was slightly ahead as they came over the rise. Part of the front suspension and a tyre has been pulled off one of the cars completely. It's got a drive shaft on it, I think. So that probably from the Cupra. An incredibly violent incident there with those two cars. Track services getting down there to refettle the safety barriers and the tyres. We'll take this opportunity to take a BDO pit lane report from Arjuna.
There was a crash at the end of, or the middle, I should say, of free practice 2 yesterday. Rafael Rice into the wall. Stallion Motorsports with Go had to rebuild the Cupra, and they've done a good job of it. But Celso, I heard there was a little bit of struggle still in qualifying, even with the work overnight.
Yeah, for sure. I can't thank the Stallion Motorsports team enough. It was really a valiant effort. if I could say the least. The whole team, no one has slept, more than 12 people working on this car. Got to really thank all the crew for the countless effort. John at NGP Motorsports had all the parts we needed. Basically everything, to the front was replaced. It was a super hard hit, 150 kilometers an hour into turn 1 for my teammate Rafa Reyes, unfortunately. But yeah, we made it work. We went out to qualify, got the car ready 10 minutes for the green flag, but unfortunately we had a gearbox leak that was dropping fluid on the tires. So that was another thing to work on before the race as well, putting another new gearbox in and getting ready for it. But car seems to be really good. Rafa's running in P7, super good pace. I think he had the second best lap of the race so far. So yeah, it's really, really astonishing seeing the images from yesterday at 5 p.m. to this morning where we're running. So yeah, can't thank everyone enough. Cooper for building such a good car, and all my sponsors and Stallion Motorsports for the support.
Thanks, Elso. Update on what you were wondering as well, John. Heart of Racing did bring down the Hanna car for full fuel, no tires. So I think exactly what you thought they had done.
Right, so that was tactical. My goodness me, I wonder if they can tell me the lottery numbers for the draw tonight as well, because this has played into their hands. I am pleased to say that Scott Thompson has been extricated with great care from the LAP Mustang. Don't read anything into the fact that he was helped out of the car. The medical team taking all due care and attention, as you would expect them to do. We talk to the safety workers quite a lot, and the old days of what they used to call in the UK scoop and shoot, where you used to get people up, put them in the ambulance and drive away as quickly as possible, get them to an emergency room. Those are long gone, and they take their time to assess. They will not move a driver from the car till they know it's safe to do so. And that is exactly the procedure that they've gone through there. Scott will be further assessed in the infield medical centre here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, awake and alert as he was taken into the medical vehicle. And we await news from LAP as to the condition of their driver. We wish them both well. Dr. Will Talley got out the car himself and walked away with it has to be said, the air of a man who had no clue, Ryan Marine, how he'd ended up in the air and in the wall.
Well, unfortunately, this is the way that the year has kind of gone for him. Remember, he was involved in that big incident at Laguna Seca that had the car get upside down and had to miss a race at one point. Scott Thompson, for his part, it's the first time he's been back in a couple of race meetings as well. Had some personal things going on, so didn't see him in the last 2 rounds. It's a tough place to try and come back to. Quickly on the strategy front, though, John, one thing we should cover off is there was a change to the short full course yellow procedures for 2026, which applies to us here. Any full course yellow within the first 30 minutes of the race will be a short FCY, so that means the pits won't open. This full course yellow comes within that first 30 minutes. It doesn't matter that there's been one already. That's the change in the rules from previous years. So this isn't going to open up the strategy play, at least not just yet, for those that were thinking about trying to make a pit stop here in conjunction with this yellow. Now, the question I don't have an answer to is, what if the yellow extends beyond the 30 minutes of the race? It came out before, but we're about to tick beyond that point, and I'm not sure if then perhaps the pits would open or not with that in mind. To be honest, I've not thought that through until just now.
I think this throws the GS, accepting that TCR were going to make one stop for front tyres at least and a full tank of VP Racing fuel. So let's put the TCRs, I'm not saying it's not important, not at all, but let's put them to one side, because this doesn't really affect anything other than how much fuel is going to go into the car when they actually come into the pits. GS, this absolutely throws all kinds of scenarios into possibility, because you are saving a lot of fuel now. We've been full course yellow for a couple of laps early on. Now we have been full course yellow again, and, well, of course our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna, has been down with his truth serum. What's the news? What are people prepared to tell you about what this does to GS and their fuel strategy? It affects the tyre strategy as well, because the Michelins aren't working as hard, Arjuna, but the key question here is VP Racing fuel and how much are they using, or how little?
In GS, the limiting factor was always the fuel, and based on the words that I've heard from a couple of teams, if this caution extends a little bit longer, which I think it will, just naturally for the recovery team to finish up their work, they should be good on a one-stop strategy, but that's not necessarily ideal for some of these teams. Take, for example, the CSM number 2, John, which qualified poorly due to the red flag, but has really fought its way up through the field. I think they would like a little bit more variation. They would like to be able to try and do something different on strategy, but we may end up in this box where most of the teams are going to end up on the same playing field. And go back to that question of track position here. It's hard to pass when you don't have those options on pit lane. It's going to be even more difficult.
I still think there's an advantage, Ryan Marine, for Heart of Racing, because they started this yellow flag with a heck of a sight more fuel on board from when they brought Hannah back in after she'd worked her way back up to whatever it was, 13th, 14th position. Now she sits all the way back down in 24th position now, barely half a minute away from the leader, but she got full VP fuel load when she came in, and I'll tell you when she came in, at the end of lap number 10. So she's had 6 laps on a full tank of fuel, the vast majority of which has been behind the Corvette safety car. She's almost got a full tank.
Right. I think that especially helps if it becomes a one-stop race and that stop happens under yellow and everybody's bunched together. That's when they can really take advantage of the shorter fill. That said, that's also incumbent upon their tire changers doing the job, because when fuel is no longer the limiting factor in your pit stop, the tires become that. So it puts a little extra pressure on the folks that are slinging those tires around in the pit lane. I'm really curious, the longer this yellow goes on, what this does to the teams that typically we see do a 2-stop strategy, commit to that early on, and take their first driver out, because we're inching pretty close to the halfway point and the point where they can make it home from on just the one stop, and I don't know that you would want to actively commit to 2 if you could possibly avoid it. So I tend to see this as strategies condensing and really your options becoming a little bit more limited, and maybe it was those that chose to play the strategy game early, a la Heart of Racing, as you quite rightly point out. Maybe they're the ones that are in a better position to capitalize at this stage.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Ryan, because what you've done here is limited the options. You haven't opened the options out. You either stop or you don't stop now, whenever the pit's open. As you said, the pits may not open, but we are over the 30 minutes now.
Yep.
And there's no sign from race control that that's going to open. So do you, for example, the moment you go green, if you're back down the GS field, your opening driver is going to be something close to his 40 minutes. You could be over 40 minutes. So at the moment you go green, do you bring your opening driver in and do a green flag stop while everybody's together? Not sure about that. Let's just update you on the positions. Actually, let's go down to the pit lane first, and then I'll do a VP in-race update. Arjuna, what do you have?
I was talking with the team principal at the Car Blanche crew just before this race started, John, and what you're talking about, I think conceptually it makes sense, but in practice here at Motorsport, it's very difficult to actually execute, because if you do a full service here, you will go a lap down if you are more than 5 seconds behind the leader. So I think there's a bit of jeopardy there. If you want to try and put in enough fuel to make the last stop a little bit shorter, you are going to have to maybe compromise on this pit stop if you want to try and gain that track position.
Arjuna Kankapati, our BDO pit lane reporter. Let's have a look at how they stand behind the race being neutralised. Corvette's safety car. It's Pan Am Motorsport who took the lead just before that big incident between LAP's Mustang, Scott Thompson, and Dr. William Talley in the VGRT, Victor Gonzalez Racing team Cupra, both drivers out of their cars. Caio Chavez then for Pan Am and Toyota ahead of the Ford Mustang of Team TGM and Paul Holton. 54, 46 and 60, the Core Motorsport Mustang in third, Mike Skeen. Nicky Hayes, Random Vandals, all the way up to fourth position in the number 92 car. Alan Patton, Car Blanche, Aston Martin, 66 in fifth. Austin Kreintz for Autotechnic BMW, the 27 car in sixth position. Varon Chogzi for Toyota and Rafa Racing, the 12 car in seventh. Ford Kosh, I mean, that's amazing. He was right at the back. He's avoided everything. The 23. Kosh Copeland Motorsport Toyota in eighth. Ninth, Robert Noiker. He was facing the wrong direction at turn 5 the first time around. Now he's inside the top 10 for Macumbi Makalia Racing in the blue, number 13. Travis Hill for Shopify Racing, and the Porsche is the best of the Bronze Cup Racing and rounds off the top 10. Still collecting bits of car from around the circuit. Incredible, absolutely incredible how much damage was done in that violent accident. In TCR, Rocco Pasquarella had taken the lead ahead of in the KMW Motorsports Honda Civic, ahead of the MMG Motorsports Paul Mand, LP Montour in second. Brian Herder Autosports best running Elantra Hyundai is the 33 of Bryson Morrison. Third, fourth, Sam Baker celebrating his birthday in the RS3. The number 52 car sits in fourth. Steve Clements for Victor Gonzalez Cupra in the 99 car in fifth. In sixth, Dean Baker for the other Baker Racing car for Audi. That is the number 56 car, and that is your VP Racing in race update. As they run in Grand Sport, it's Nate Cicero and Robert Noyeka 30 points ahead in that Mustang, that recovering Mustang, as I said in the VP update, facing the wrong way at turn 5, let pretty much the whole field go through. Stephen McAleer, Austin Kreintz 30 points back, sitting all the way down in 19th. It's third place in the championship standings as they run. 80 points back for Moise Aretsky, Michael Cooper, Dylan McAvern and Luke Mars for BMW in the number 95 car. That car back out, but 12 laps down, and in all honesty, they've done well to get that car back out, Ryan, but what they don't need is long yellow. They need green flag to the end of the race and some other people to have problems so that they can make back some of those laps and maybe grab a handful of points for the championship. In TCR, Bryson Morris, Mason Filippi by 130 from Pasquarella and Lewis in the number 5 car, which leads at the moment in second. Then it's the Brown DuPont number 76 Hyundai in third position, and another Hyundai, the Maddie House number 98 car. Where are they sitting at the moment? They're down the field as well. Maddie House is in 9th position. Tim Wilkins in that car. It's Blind Hope that's driving on that 95 BMW from Turner at the moment, Ryan.
It is, because this has been just a miserable, I mean, what would you call it? Basically, last hour of racing, because it was in the last 20 minutes or so of the race at Watkins Glen that it all went sideways for them, and now in the first 40 minutes here, things are not going terribly well, and they do need this race to get going again. They need some attrition. Right now, a couple of cars have dropped out, and they'll have a chance to make up one more as in a handful of laps. I think they're 2 laps behind the Scott Thompson car, which obviously will take no further part, but beyond that, it looks pretty grim in terms of their hope to pick up any kind of meaningful positions unless we have a significant amount of attrition in the time remaining.
Down at Shopify Racing, powered by Tooth. Pair of brothers in this car. Travis Hill behind the wheel right now. Trevor Hill, usually the engineer for the team, gets to race alongside his brother. How cool has this experience been?
Oh, this is amazing to do this at home in front of the crowd here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It's awesome to do it with my brother because we've raced with each other, but never in the same car. I've crew chiefed his car, I've mechanicked on his car, but I've never actually raced side by side with him and shared a car to the finish.
And when was the last time that you were in GT4 car?
The last time I got to race the GT4 car was at Daytona. I got to share the car with Ron and Megan Tomlinson. So this is nice to come back home, get back in the car, and do this again.
Enjoy the weekend. Pit lane's open, so it's about to be busy.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, get ready for some customers. Let's see what happens. All of our speculation, all of our talking about who will, who won't. Will they come? Will they not? I've just noticed that 40 minutes has elapsed, Ryan Marine. So anyone who's not been in the pits so far, particularly in GS, they can come to the pit lane when the pits open. And the pits have just opened. We've converted this to a standard yellow. We are 40 minutes and 46 seconds into the race. Right, team manager, Ryan Marine. If you're in the top 10, do you come? If you're in the bottom 10, do you come? Or do you just have to come?
I don't think you do. Boy, it's tough though, because we're another length of yellow, and maybe you could think about trying to go home from here. I look, if you're in the bottom 10, absolutely, come on in. I look at Ted Giovannis and Team TGM. This is not a bad situation for them. Ted's got his drive time done.
Great
he
for
can
them.
get out of that car from here. Same for Bryce Ward. They gave up the track position with the issue they had early on. I'd say go ahead and make that switch, get Dan Arrow in that car. There's a few others that fall into that category. It'd be tough to give up the track position, I think, if you're a front runner here, knowing you're committing yourself to another stop, but it looks like a lot of people are comfortable with that.
Let's go down to Arjuna. Ford Kosh has stayed out in the 23. Travis Hill stayed out in the Shopify car. Sean McAllister's stayed out. Watch out for what's Heart of Racing do, because they should be able to turn that car around quickly. Arjuna, where are you?
I'm stood right in front of the car blanche number 66 as Alan Patton gets out and Treston Estep gets in. I can also see Austin Crines and Stephen McAleer getting to work in that BMW as the Hannah's number 26 slots into its stall. And you were right, John. No tires, it's just a top off and fuel, but it's not going to beat out car blanche. What a pit stop from the number 66. It's going to fire out directly alongside of one of the TGM 64 cars, still struggling to find its pit stall.
This is going to be very interesting. And pit out of the 64 car, can't get in. The TGM machine was waiting for the 46. It was sitting at 35, 40 degrees. Couldn't get in to its stall. Such a packed pit lane. And maybe Ford Kosh and Travis Hill and Sean McAllister had the right idea. They stayed out of the carnage in the pit lane. I'm trying to work out how quickly people got out there and who turned their cars around. We're looking for the Michelin moment of the race, of course, for later on in our broadcast. Bill Oberlin's gone out, so he's jumped in. Dan Arrow's jumped in to the number 57, taking over from Bryce Ward. We'll have to wait till they come across another timing line. So for the moment, the TCRs have cycled through into the top positions behind the safety car. Well, I reckon only 3 cars didn't come in, Ryan, from GS.
That's the way it's, yeah, that's the way it looks right now. Koch, Hill, and McAllister. And I really like this from the Carbon team. Sean McAllister They did not get a chance to put in a quick lap in qualifying, so started well down the order. Might as well do something that the rest of the field is not doing here, and this gets them some track position. I mean, the thing is, without another really long yellow, I have to believe everybody who pitted here is going to have to pit again. So everybody in GS still has another pit stop to come, even those that pitted as well as those that stayed out.
Interesting call as the number 99 Victor Gonzalez racing car stays out on track, but I see every other TCR machine, I believe, filtering through for a driver change, and slightly earlier than we expected. We knew that these cars could get a full hour out of the tank. The front Michelin tires, though, showing a bit of wear as the crew get to work, releasing all 5 lug nuts. In front of me, the 33, Mason Felipe in, Bryson Morris already out. A very good pit stop from them as they drop from the air jacks and will roll first in front of the MMG Honda, which will roll out second.
That's a huge pit stop for the white and multicolored 33 TCR. That's impressive. Brian Herter Autosport once again have done what they are so good at. No final race by, no final wave by, should I say. That is an incredible turnaround. Still waiting for the number 76 Hyundai Motorsport customer racing car to pull out of the pit lane. Preston Brown and Denny DuPont sharing that car. The BHA with Curb Agajanian machine still waiting for the last remnants of the VP Racing fuel to go in. I think they might be having fuel problems there, the way that fuel hose has been wiggled around just a little bit there, Ryan. This seems too long for me. This seems too long. It looks like they haven't got that properly fastened in.
I wholeheartedly agree. This should not take this long, and you could almost sense the frustration from the fueler there. You could see the other crew members waving their hands around in disgust. So that's something that team will want to look at, because there's a decent chance that even the TCR cars will have to pit again. They're closer to their window.
Great.
Yeah, and again, depending on the length of this yellow, maybe they can stretch this. But if in the event that they do have to pit again, you want to make sure that's figured out. And boy, they just missed going and getting trapped a lap down there.
Robert Nowick out of the Macombi Macaleer, number 13. What happened at the start?
Yeah, we were going down to 5. We were able to pick up 2 spots off the start there. We were in, I think, 4th. And there was side-by-side into 5. And I think outside car might have pinched down a little. Inside car washed up a bit. It was just enough to just make a spin. And, yeah, the car in front of me checked up. I was checking up, and it was just nothing anyone could do piling into the corner. So thankful it was just a square hit to the rear, spun us around, able to get back going. There's no problems with the car, so, you know, head down and just keep going forward. I think now we came out of the pits in 7th, I think, so gained even, you know, a couple more spots with the pit crew. So, yeah, kind of an up on the start, then immediate down, and, you know, now we're kind of back up again. So, yeah, Nate's in. He'll do good, and I think we'll keep marching our way to the front.
Did you take a little less fuel? Are you aware of what happened in that pit stop call? Because we're expecting an extra pit stop now before the end.
Yeah, I don't know what you know, what all the strategy is. That's above my pay grade. I'm just here to drive the car, so let the strategists do their thing.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks.
Yeah, you see, the truth serum doesn't work on Robert Nowick. He's had the antidote from the Ford racing program. So right in front of that number 76, the Go Audi has come out of the pit lane, and just as Ryan said, stopped them going a lap down, and they are working on the fuel rig at the number 76 Brian Herter Autosport with Curb Agajanian, and that is the car that we thought was standing too long. I don't think they were getting full fuel flow, or perhaps not even any fuel flow, the way that the fuel it was pushing that back in and out. Let's quickly do a VP in race. No time. We've gone back to green, and it's Ford Koch, Travis Hill and Sean McAllister who have not stopped, that lead away from Robert McGuinness, Trent Nesta, Ben Cicero, Stephen Magalier, Hannah Greenmeyer in 8th position. That was brilliant from Heart of Racing. Matt Plum, Mikey Taylor. Remember, Hannah has no new tyres on that car, but they're not very They are not very old or worn. So, good restart, Ryan, from Ford Kosh. All the battling is going on behind him.
Just the way he likes it. Great getaway for him. Right now, Hill in second place. Is the cork in the bottle. Almost another 3 wide moment down into Boss. That's the Auto Technicar Stephen McAleer, pretty aggressive. Oh, and a spin further back. 37 Carbon BMW is around.
It's Cameron Shields, and he was running right in the middle of the pack in 13th position ahead of Evan Slater. He's got going again, but he's going to lose a huge amount of ground. So still, Ford Kosh then on the tyres and with the fuel in which he started, as into the pit lane comes Trenton Estep. This is his second stop. Now, I wasn't expecting this, Arjuna. Now, is this a drive-through? Yes, it is. Pit lane speed violation. Oh, my goodness, 2 clicks. And also the 96 BMW is going to get one as well. And also an incident responsibility call for the LAP Mustang drive-through with Dr. William Talley. You might think, why? The car's out. That's really sensible, as I'm afraid, we've gone full course yellow again, haven't we? Yes, we have. Cameron Shields has not been able to pull away. Already the AMR Porsche Cayenne is there. That is incredible that you blow the speed limit. 3 cars blowing the speed limit, although then it's not going to be as bad as it potentially looked. There was all kinds of trouble. One of the TGM cars involved at that turn 5 incident as well, Ryan, that spun around the Carbon BMW.
Yeah, it was, and it tagged that BMW in the left rear, and I suspect that might have done some damage to the driveline or something like that. That's why Cameron's not been able to pull away. Really unfortunate. It was 13th at the time, running its own race, really, and got caught up in a problem not of his own making there.
Of course, this is better news, not great news, but better news for anybody who's trying, sideways slide by the TGM car up onto the curb, and then while sideways clip the left rear of Cameron Shields' dark grey and highlighter green BMW. Cameron's out the car. He's going to go back in the intervention vehicle, the medical vehicle, or assistance vehicle, effectively, whilst the AMR safety crew go about recovering that car. Now, will it tow or does it need a lift? Now, the pits will not open this time because it is fewer than 15 minutes since we had the last one. So let me do a quick update for you. Toyota Supra, the Kosh Copeland Motorsport car, leads. It has not yet stopped. Sean McAllister has not yet stopped for BMW, and the other Carbon car in second. Stephen McAleer, Autotechnic BMW, will be, fingers crossed, hoping for another longish yellow here. He's made a stop. Will it be his only stop? He has taken that car over. Nate Cicero taking over the number 13 Ford Mustang in 4th position. Matt Plum in the 46 has taken over the Team TGM Ford Mustang. Travis Hill, Shopify Racing, started in 3rd on that restart, down to 6th. Still has to make his pit stop, but has done his driver time. The 3 cars, Ford Kosh, Sean McAllister, and Travis Hill, they have got effectively another, they could potentially go another 15 minutes or so before they've got to get out of the car to give their teammate 40 minutes in the car. And remember, in the calculation of that, time in the pits does not count. So their teammates got to come out before 40 minutes to go, otherwise they will not be classified. Behind Travis Hill in 7th, Hannah Greenmeyer for Harter Racing Team. She has stopped twice, but she is still the starting driver, so she's got to stop again to let the other Hannah in the car. Robert McGuinness in 8th position for Random Vandals. Thomas Merrill in 9th for the Aston of Circle H in the top 10. Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport. In TCR, Mason Filippi has stopped in the number 33. Brian Hurt at Autosport. Stephen Clemens stayed out and took the position. 3rd place, Carl Whitmer. He's got in the car. LP's got out, so they've done their stop. Now they're going to be turning the engines off on the TCRs and coasting down the hills here, trying to get somewhere closer so they don't have to stop again. 4th is Brian Hurter's number 18 car, now Harry Gottsacker. Then Mark Wilkins in a similar car, the number 98. Then Tim Lewis in the black number 5 KMW Honda Civic, that car with the fastest lap of the TCR race so far. The answer, by the way, was that the Carbon car did not tow, and it has been put on one of the Sunshine Logistics flatbeds, the rollbacks. Tim Lewis, as I said, in 6th. James Vance in 7th ahead of Bruno Junqueira. In 8th, the 2 Baker Audis running 52 and 56, 7th and 8th. Larry Pegram has taken over the Pegram Racing Honda in 9th, and Denny Dupont is in the number 76 Hyundai, but we think that car may not have got full fuel. So out of all the TCRs, Stephen Clemens the only one still to stop. So yeah, that was a sliding Mustang, and I feel very sorry for Stephen Cameron, because he had absolutely nowhere to go, Ryan. It was the 64 car that went around, or partially went around at least.
Yeah, that's right. Hugh Plum got into Cameron Shields there. There might have been some contact into Plum as well, just at the beginning of the shot that we saw. I saw a piece of carbon fiber or bodywork or something go flying, and then we got an onboard look from a few cars back, and everybody really bunched up all together. So I'm not sure that Hugh is at fault necessarily. He might have been bumped into Cameron Shields, but nevertheless, both of those cars have been delayed extensively. Shields in that BMW is done, it would appear. Plum, that car's been in the pits now for just over 2 minutes. I do not think this yellow is good news for Stephen Clemens at the moment. That's the only TCR car that did not pit. With each passing moment here under yellow, it makes it more viable for the TCR cars to make it to the finish from here, and I'm still really up in the air about what the GS strategy looks like from this point on.
Down in pit lane with the number 27 BMW, Austin Kreitz, after an eventful opening stint. We heard from Robert Noaker. What did you see at the start?
Oh man, that was pretty chaotic, you know. Opening lap at IMSA is always a handful. I saw the 27 or the Heart of Racing car spun in front of me. Uretsky also spun in front of me. The Turner car, you know, unfortunately also had an incident. It was definitely mayhem in turn 5 in the opening laps.
And now we sit here. At one point you were leading the championship, but ultimately the goal is to lead at the end of the year. You and I were having a quick chat. Do you feel a bit more pressure, expectations this year, having finished P3 in the points last year?
Yeah, you know, I thought it'd be a little bit easier this year. Now that I did a full season in GS last year. But yeah, I definitely am feeling the pressure, but we have a good team, we have a good car, and I got an amazing co-driver. Mr. McAleer is a weapon.
Let's see how he goes. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Well, Super Saturday living up to the billing here. Still to come, qualifying for 3 classes in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. We've got a 45-minute Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin race to round off the action today. But first of all, we've got to find out who is going to stand on top of the podium for the Canadian Tire Motorsport Part 120. We are coming back to green flag. Ford Koch leads them through. Remember, top two have not stopped. Sean McAllister in the car park with Peregrine. Grey and green car also has not yet stopped. Can we get through a few laps here? 1 hour, 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock when they came through to the green flag. Side-by-side action. Aston Martin having a really good look down the inside of Travis Hill. That was that Hannah Greenmeyer? I think it might have been. In fact, no, that was Thomas Merrill, Circle H Racing on the Random Vandals BMW of Robert McGuinness. So that midfield getting feisty again, Ryan.
It certainly is. We've had a couple of pit callers here. So Denny DuPont now is in the car that Preston Brown started. Stephen Clemens just pitted as well. That was the only TCR car that hadn't pitted, so that car just came in. A few TCR cars electing to make that strategy play. We also had Robbie Foley serve the drive-through penalty that was picked up for that speeding in the pit lane under the first full course yellow. Second full course yellow.
Yeah, I think that was in. I think that also he had to do entering a closed pit as well, didn't he? Not that he could have helped that because the car was injured for that. No, that was the other car. That was the other Turner Motorsport car. There's been so much going on. We're going to get a drive-through for the TGM number 64 car. Wheel rotation whilst on the jacks. Well, again, that's got to be picked up by the officials. Doesn't matter what position they are in, it has to be the message sent. Even though that car is down the field. Mason Filippi leading Carl Whitner by 0.4 of a second in TCR. That's a cracking battle, and Carl Whitmer's just put the fastest lap of the race in the Honda, with Harry Gottsacker chasing him in 1:24.435. But at the front of the field, Ford Koch is absolutely making hay in the Canadian sunshine at the moment, ahead by more than a second, Ryan.
Well, that car cannot make it, no question about it. They have another stop to do, so Ford might as well just try and go build a gap here. He doesn't have any fuel save concerns whatsoever. The same cannot be said for the bulk of the GS field, which could conceivably be trying to make this on one stop, even though that one stop came with 1 hour and 17 minutes on the clock, because so much of the subsequent time was done under yellow. So I think what we're seeing is the difference in strategy playing out.
Final corner, Tom Merrill was making some maneuvers. He can't get enough lock on to get him pointing in the right direction at White's corner, and the number 14 car, which was moving up, is now moving on back. By the way, Ford Koch, out of the 31 laps that he's done, 13 have been green flag laps. That's all in terms of fuel and tyre usage, and he's just done that car's fastest lap of the race. I agree, he can't make it to the end, but he's got to go as far as he can now, hasn't he, and make that last pit stop as short as possible. 1:23.6 last time around is that car's fastest lap of the race.
Well, he's pushing here. There's nothing for it but to go hard at this stage, and then when they decide to make that final stop is the crucial thing. I'm wondering what they'll choose to do. I think while he's out in front and has track position and clean air, he's going to do his best to put down fast laps.
Dan Arrow's got the left front of the bonnet. The hood has popped, and the 57 BDO Technimet car from Winward Racing. Now that is on the driver's side. That's going to be affecting his forward vision. Fortunately, it's the front edge rather than the back edge, but the worry is that the other bonnet pin pops. That will be being looked at race control as to whether that is a danger to him and other drivers. That car sitting down the field at the moment, and meantime, Tom Merrill has a left front puncture. So the spin, well, there's damage to the left front. I don't think that happened when he spun, so not sure the cause of the puncture. Was it side-by-side contact? Has he run over a curb? We don't know, but that seems to have caused the damage on the front of the car, and Thomas Merrill, after making a really good restart, is touring back from the far side of the track.
Yeah, that's really a shame. That was
And
shaping up
indeed,
this... Go ahead, John.
Sorry, Ryan. A mechanical black flag for the 57 car of Dan Arrow. I thought that had to come. Where are they? 55, 54 minutes to go. He's going to have to come this time if he's seen it. If he could eke out 2 laps, but you're not allowed to. But he can come in, he can do full service. He doesn't have to just attend to that. He's going to get caught in behind the Porsche of Travis Hill and Shopify. This is that car's first pit stop, and they can go. I think they might be able to go that little Shopify Porsche from here, and that means the BDO car can as well. They'll fuel that to the brim and refasten the front. They must be going to try and make an advantage out of a necessity here at the 57 crew.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. That's what they'll be trying to do. They're in their window. They can go from here. The rest of the GS class, those that pitted under the yellow, oh boy, it just depends on how much they were able to save with those extended yellows that we had. I feel like that would be a tall task to try and nurse it all the way to the finish. But the good news is these cars can all push hard from this point on, and they'll need to, especially if the others are trying to make it on just that single stop.
Full service, of course, for the Shopify car. New Michelin tyres and a new driver. And Travis Hill is trying to attract the attention of his team. The side netting wasn't up, so he couldn't have left even if he wanted to. We've got a couple of other takers as well. So Hill goes out in that car. Oh, and the number 60 Core Motorsport car spins coming into the final corner. Evan Slater in the Stars and Stripes. Do not reverse there. Do not reverse onto the apex of the corner. Right now you can. There's nothing coming. He's not going to get around. He's doing the Austin Powers 124-point turn here, trying not to cause a problem. I thought he was going to reverse back into traffic for one moment. Why I was saying don't reverse, I mean, he can't hear me from here, but it was just the reaction that I had there, Ryan.
Oh, I don't blame you. I was watching through, well, basically shut eyelids. I was too afraid to watch with that car backing up and oncoming traffic coming through. See if we can figure out what happened to this car. Might there have been a little bit of contact? I think there might have been off the nose of the 54 Supra.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. And from outside and from the Supra's camera, that seemed to be enough contact. It doesn't take much there. You are really leaning on the car as you come through the second last left-hander at 9, and then you're really loading up on the right-hand rear, and that's where he got tapped. So 23 Ford Kosh into the pit lane finally. Arjuna finally comes to say hello to you in the Toyota Allentown red, white and blue machine.
I've been waiting for this pit stop for a while, and while I think there's some questions as to the Windward car and maybe the Shopify powered by Tooth, no question for me as to whether this Toyota Supra is going to be able to get to the end. There's a set of sticker Michelin tires going on, and for a team that's had so much misfortune in 2026, I think there's only one thing on their mind today, and that is winning. And this one-stop call could be magic. All 4 tires taking a bit longer than the fuel, quite interestingly, but off and away Jackson Bell goes.
What they've done is ran at full speed as well, Ryan, so they've had to make people chase them in some respects. The Thiago Camilio car, back behind the wall now for the Aston Martin that had the issues. That's very sad to see for Circle H Racing. David Hampton started the car, the man from Salinas, Thomas Merrill, in the car, as BMW comes along pit road as well. And another black flag for the Windward car. this could be the end of their championship hopes, as we've had pit stoppers at the front of the field now with 51 minutes to go. Mikey Taylor for Unitronic, Thiago Camilo, who must have a sword of Damocles hanging over the Pan Am Sport after that contact at the final corner, and Robert McGuinness for Random Vandals BMW. All come in. Michael Cooper has gone in and out in the McLaren Artura, so they reckon 51, 52 minutes. They can make it on that and probably go pretty quickly doing it, Ryan.
By the way, that Thiago Camilo car was hit with a drive-through penalty, incident responsibility, so that will really set them down. And I agree. I think what this tells me is that the GS class does not feel like, even with all the yellows that they've had, those that pitted with over an hour and 15 minutes to go can make it. So they see those that hadn't pitted yet come in. They themselves know that there was a high likelihood they would have to pit as well. So this is covering for a potential yellow. This puts them with a pretty quick stop as well, just a splash of fuel. So it shouldn't be much time spent in the pit lane. Get them back out once again. And I think that's probably most of the GS field at least tipping their hands at this point.
Further remedial work going on to the left front of the hood, the bonnet of the 57 Winward car. I'll keep an eye on that as we get this BDO pit lane report from Arjuna.
Let's start with the good with Ford Koch, an insane start to the race, starting from the tail end, almost up into the top 10 inside of the opening 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was great. We had an unfortunate incident qualifying, which me and the team felt we needed to rectify. Copeland Motorsports here gave me a fantastic car. The opening lap, I think we were fortunate enough to get 13 cars. So very fruitful first lap, and just so excited to be here. Came in the lead with about 4 seconds of lead. So just great turnaround from this morning.
A little bit of frustration though that I just heard. It sounds like there's a little bit of damage on the left rear that's potentially flapping around, and there's questions as to maybe getting a mechanical black flag. Has that been impacting the car at all? Is the balance still pretty magical?
No, from what I saw, the car, the piece isn't flapping. I think it should be fine. Hopefully IMSA does not do that to us, but I'm not sure if it was a little bit of contact or some residual damage from this morning, which was a pretty major hit. The car flew 20 feet in the air. But just, again, so happy to be here.
Let's talk about that moment very quickly. What went wrong down at turn 5?
Yeah, I just had one of my competitors that may not have seen me warming tires, and I had nowhere to go in turn 4. So we flew 10, 20 feet. So that was for sure exciting, but the crew here got the car back ready, and it was just an incredible work by the whole team.
Thanks, Ford.
Thank you.
That was a good first stint. We're still looking for our Michelin moment of the race. One in the TCR category, one in the GS category. Matt Plum leads. Good pit work, good driving from Team TGM. Nate Cicero in second, now 2 seconds further back. Third, Morgan Burkhardt, CSM Porsche. Then the Toyota of Rafa Racing, Kiko Porto. Rafa Racing keeping their nose clean. Kiko's just done that car's fastest lap of the race, 123.250, side by side, coming in to Moss Corner in the battle for 3rd and 4th position. And the Rafa car has just gone through. So Kiko Porto has taken Morgan Burkhardt for 3rd position, and that Rafa car's got some pace, Ryan.
It sure does. Kiko is an outstanding talent, champion in VP Racing Sports Car Challenge GSX competition a year ago. That's the same GT4 platform used in the GS class in Michelin Pilot Challenge. And of note, this car actually made its last trip down the pit lane with 1 hour and 9 minutes to go. That's 7 minutes more recent than all of the other cars that pitted in that first sequence. And with the amount of yellow that we've had, what I don't know, I'm not sure if that's, I don't think that was a penalty. I think that was a legitimate pit stop. And if so, maybe are they in a position to try and steal one here and make this fuel last, given all the yellow that we've had?
Well, I'm going to tell you now that Jackson Bell's going to go to the end. We thought he was safe. I'm sure he is now. He's just put the fastest lap of the race in, 122.762. Now he's down the field in 27th position, 18th in GS at the moment. But he's gambling or betting, perhaps, is a better word. He's expecting quite a few of the GS cars ahead of him, Ryan, to have to pit, and that's what basically he, running at that pace, he must think he's good to go to the end.
I think he is. I mean, they went further than a couple of the others that hadn't pitted during that yellow, so I think they pitted knowing that they were good to go to the finish from there. The thing is, everybody else that did pit, that had pitted under the yellow, then has subsequently pitted the second time. That was a short fill, and so they would have spent less time in the pit lane itself. So they're still going to cycle out behind a good chunk of the competition, but Ford Koch's work on the restart, where he was able to build a gap and turn in some of those fast laps, that was going to be vital for them to try and regain some of that track position.
Now, what about the TCR battle running inside the top 10 at the moment? Mason Filippi, Harry Gottsager, Carl Whitmer, Hyundai Honda, running in close proximity to each other, with Tim Lewis just another 2/10 further back, and James Vance and Bruno Junqueira another 6 and 8/10 further back respectively. That's your top 6 who are sitting within 3 seconds of each other in the TCR category, and maybe they can all go to the end. It's going to be tight. They have done well in this stint. They've got 5 yellow laps in a stint that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So when did that start? 10 minutes past the hour. That's going to be, is that going to be enough to get them home? I'm not sure. So, oh, here's a story. 2 mechanical black flags. One for one of the cars we expected, which was the number 23 Kosh Copeland Motorsport car, as in comes the Ford Mustang from second place, Team TGM, for a splash of fuel. This is their second stop. Matt Plum's going to drop down. The other car that has got a mechanical black flag is Hannah Grisham, Heart of Racing. Oh, that's a shame. They are trying to work their way back up, sitting in 10th position in class at the moment, but Hannah will have to come back down the pit lane at the 57. Again, they have not been able to secure the left front of the bonnet, of the hood on that car. Dan Arrow will be sick of looking at that flapping tape, as Jackson Bell's back in the pit lane as well. What a bizarre race we are watching, Ryan.
Oh, it has been pretty much from the start. This one's had a little bit of everything. And boy, you really feel for this Koch Copeland team, because they've really had strong pace this year, and for whatever reason have really struggled to put full races together. The 2 races that they finished so far this season, they've been 6th and 5th, but they've had 3 DNFs. This race, you know, that mechanical black flag is definitely not what they were looking for, and I can understand some frustration on their part, because that bodywork's been flapping since the beginning of the race, and I mean, maybe it's gotten worse and I just hadn't seen it, but that has to be a bitter pill to swallow, to be forced to come down the pit lane here at this late stage.
Back in again for the AMG number 57. Better off taking the bonnet off that, I reckon. Yep. Just unfasten the whole thing. It's not going to stick down with tape. Winner last time out for the first time in 3 years. This is going to turn. They came in third, what, 60 points off the lead. Oh, I think it's the rear wing on the Heart of Racing, Arjuna. I can see you're there.
I think actually part of the underside of the car, John, they just ripped away, almost looked like just sheets of plastic vinyl, instead of needing all of that sticky tape that I think we've seen in the past. The other thing that I did note, though, on that number 27 Heart of Racing GT4 car, left mirror has been, I think, nursing some damage since the start of this race, much like, by the way, for Windward Racing. The reason why the hood's not able to stay on, they've had a decent shot to the front of the car that's kind of moved around the connection points, and I can see them trying to wrangle the front end into submission right now.
Yeah, they came in, what, 60 points or so off the lead of the championship, and the championship lead is going the way of Nate Cicero and Macumbi Racing. Nate in the car now has had a bit of a revolving door of teammates this year, Ryan, and therefore his championship position is that of his own. And with the trials and tribulations of everyone else, this is going very nicely for the 13 car. You wouldn't have said that in turn 5 at the first lap when Robert Nowick was facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, this has not been the way, the kind of race that they drew up, certainly at the start of the day. We heard Michael Cooper talking about the multiple strategy plans that everybody had coming into the race. I'm not sure any of them factored all of this in, but here he comes. Yeah, we knew he owed a stop here. He's running awfully long. This is one of the cars that pitted under that second full course yellow, and I think we're down to 3 cars that are yet to come in out of the GS class. Kiko Porto, Zach Veach, and then this car now in the pit lane. All we think still owe a stop. Porto's the one I've got a little bit of a question mark around, because they came in to top off about 8 minutes after this car we're seeing right here.
Might as well at least put 2 tyres on. Surely working side tyres on the car. You're going to put the left-hand side on. Actually, I think they're going to do all 4, because that is the time that they've got whilst the fuel is going on. No, excuse me, left sides only. I'm just going to throw something else into that. The left-hand side exhaust box is hanging loose on that 13 car as a remnant of that first lap hit from Moise Uretsky, wasn't it, in the Ibiza Farms number 44. And that was another front-running car. Michael Cooper down in 7th position in GS, 14th position overall. And here's another little wrangle as well, Ryan. The cars from 4th in GS down as they stand at the moment make that 3rd, as Nick Cicero has just been in the pit. They've got all of the TCR front runners ahead of them, so as they're battling amongst themselves, they've got to come through the top 6 TCR runners.
Yeah, and it's really the first time we've actually seen the classes intermingle in this manner. We saw the front of the TCR class catch the back of the GS class, but first time we've seen the GS front runners have to work their way through traffic because of the staccato nature of the race to this point, and that certainly has a part to play in the way that this is going to play out.
4th place, Nate Cicero got back out without losing too many places. Quite a bit of real estate. As I say, most of those cars that went through were TCRs. Zach Veach for CSM's in from 2nd. That was another car that owed us a splash, and they'll do left-hand side Michelin tyres as well. 5 lug nuts on those racing wheels. Makes sense, they've got time to do that. Oh no, the front left has not gone on, and I think they've dropped the car down, and he can't get the tyre on the hub. They're going to have to put it back up on the jacks. He just slides it on. He had to step away. This is time lost for CSM, and while Cicero did it and the team did a great job to get him back out for Macumbi Magalio, and they still haven't been fueling the car either. What was going on there? That was a disaster. They've only just got the fueling hose into the front of the bonnet, and that has been a disastrous stop for CSM. Ryan.
Oh, that is really frustrating for them. They've been quick this weekend, but that's one way for a good weekend to unravel right there. And should mention that Zach Veach actually has joined that team in an ownership capacity. They're expanding next year into junior single-seater racing, and Zach's part of the ownership group and specifically will be focused on the single-seater side of the business. But that was certainly big news when it was announced yesterday. Great to see Zach back behind the wheel as well with the CSM team here this weekend.
Jared Wakefield, who's one of our hard-working production team that we never get to see or properly talk to, up in NASCAR Productions' super spiffy production facility in Concord in North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. Noticed that the bottom lug nut on the left front of that CSM Porsche did not go on properly. I'm not sure the wheel was properly seated actually on all of that. Yeah, that bottom lug nut is not on. Is that seated? I'm not sure about that. And was that the lug nut actually being propelled down the pit lane? Now 4 should do it. I think that was a lug nut being propelled down the pit lane. 4 should keep that on if the wheel was seated properly, Ryan. If not, that'll start moving around and the driver will find out about that. Zach Veach will feel that immediately if that wheel isn't seated properly. Great spot by Jared.
Yeah, very good. The good news is Zach's a veteran, and he'll be feeling that out. If the team saw the replay, they'll be letting him know so that he's on the lookout for some kind of an issue related to that there. And I'll say this, I'm not sure there's a track I would less like to have one fewer lug nut on that car than I should than this one. This place, as we've talked about so many times, can bite you and can bite you fast. So with fingers crossed here that wheel is secured and Zach doesn't have any further ill effects.
Yeah, I think it is actually. 4 will keep it on there. Might be slightly out of balance, but it should be okay. Jared says they're going to have to be careful in post-race tech. It'll be a weight reduction. Good eyes by Jared, and thanks to our replay crew as well. Affectionately, we call the replay crew, and this is a term of great affection. We still call them the tape apes from back in the day when it was tape machines. I know it's all digital now. Some of the hardest working people that you never see or hear of are tucked away in Concord, talking to us in our ears, typing on our screens and giving us the replays, as well of course as our hard working camera operators who are out in all weathers. Racing enthusiasts, yes, but it's a tough job to be doing that for 8 or 10 hours in the day. We're inside the last 35 minutes. Let's take a BDO pit lane report and then we'll reset what we know about the last half an hour plus of the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park 120 for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Arjuna.
With our leader in TCR, Brian Hurd at Autosport, handing over Mason Felipe the keys with Bryson Morris. First question, are you guys good to the end?
Yeah, I think so. Mason's doing a really good job. You know, he's leading the race right now, which is awesome. He took it over when I came in third, so yeah, he's doing a great job. And there's a little bit of fuel saving, but I think we're good.
How do you fuel save around a track like this, where there's not many heavy braking zones, lots of momentum that you're trying to carry? But where are the places you can save that fuel?
Yeah, so like for example, turns 1 or 2, it's not really a heavy brake zone normally, so you could just lift a little bit earlier and not brake at all. I use that strategy in my stint, and I think Mason's doing something similar, and it's working so far.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Best of luck.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, that's just not brake for 2 of the scariest corners in North American motorsport. Okay, I'm sure that works for me, Ryan. I think I'd be having the left foot over the pedal at least, just to make myself feel a little bit better. Great TCR battle then, going through turn 1 now. Mason Felipe, Harry Gottsaka, Carl Whitmer, Tim Lewis, James Vance. As quick as I can say that, and Bruno Junqueira, as quick as I can say that, the top 6 are together. 24 Michelin tyres of TCR action down at the bottom of the hill. Now climbing through Quebec Corner. My goodness, that track looks so much different from when I first came here. There used to be concrete patches in that part of the area through the traction zones. Then they got a little bit of tarmac sprayed over the top of them, but this track is looking absolutely incredible now, and it's racing well today. Track temperatures got up as far as 47, 48 degrees, didn't quite crack 50 Celsius, 117 Fahrenheit at the moment, 79 Fahrenheit in the air is 26 Celsius. So toasty, but doable for cars, drivers and Michelin tyres. Here comes that battle for the lead, and there was a little thought of a movement from the second place car. Gottsaka in the red and black Hyundai is second. The white and multicoloured car leads. In third, the pole-sitting Honda FL5 Honda Civic TCR. We know that car's got pace over a lap. Down through turn one again. There wasn't a hint of any of those guys breaking through there, was there? Just carrying the momentum. At the front of the race overall, by the way, the red, just as I mention it, pops up on our monitors. Kiko Porto, Rafa Racing, leads by 37 seconds, Ryan, to Stephen McAleer in the Autotechnic Racing BMW in second. Now, Kiko Porto and Stephen were last, I think were last in the pits at the same time, which is quite some time ago. Now we're on lap 50, and again there's a question mark, is there not, about that Rafa Racing Toyota, or do you think that car can make it from here?
No, there's a lot of questions. So they pitted, let's see, just about 40 minutes ago, it would appear. There was an hour and 9 minutes left when they pitted. So that was, let's see, basically they're the only GS car that's only pitted once right now. And so I think they are trying to do something different here, trying to stretch this out. Interestingly, they lead overall. Then it's that TCR battle that is second through seventh overall. Then you get to second place, and the leader on their strategy, Stephen McAleer, second place in GS and the leader on that strategy, but that's eighth overall. So the front runners in TCR, actually, if Porto does have to pit, would, for the moment at least, cycle through to the overall lead of the race.
What's interesting to me is the lap times that those TCR leaders are doing. 1:25.3 for Mason Filippi, and 25.5 for Gottsaka, same for Whitmer, same 25.3 for Tim Lewis, 25.6 for James Vance, Bruno Junqueira at 25.6. It's only a 24 flat for Stephen McAleer. He's not exactly honing down on them. He took a second and a half or thereabouts, between 1 second and 1.5 seconds out of them. Now he's only got 4 seconds to get to the back of Bruno Junqueira, but Junqueira, Vance, Lewis, Whitmer, Gottsaka, they're having their own battle. They're not going to want to give any kind of racing room for McAleer coming through, and McAleer's only got 2 seconds on Nate Cicero.
Yeah, fascinating battle. So much is going on here, and a lot of it isn't just about outright pace or racecraft. A lot of this is fuel management in the TCR class. I think some of the TCR cars are trying to push others into using too much fuel, because all the TCR class is kind of in a can they, will they make it type of situation. You've got the way that the two classes are interacting together here. Boy, there's still a whole lot to play out in the next 28 minutes.
Just over 41 minutes behind the blue Chevrolet Corvette safety car. 28 minutes side by side, and it's BMW and Ford Mustang. That was getting very tight indeed for the car barn. Number 39 car battling with the bright Mustang, number 19 there, battling for the minors. Down the field, that's 17th, 18th, 19th, Gregory Leafuge, Thiago Camillo's in there as well. In fact, he's just gone through in the Pan Am Motorsport. Jeff Westphal in that carbon car. Kenny Murillo's in there in the bright orange AMG. All having a great scrap. But as I say, that is bottom end of the top 15, top 20. Doesn't mean they're having any less fun though, Ryan. And we're talking points at the end of the day as well. Kiko Porto continues. 2 pit stops, 28 laps since he was last down the lane. they don't have to worry about driver time. Both drivers have been in that car, which is just as well, because we've only got 26 minutes remaining. Don't think anybody has fallen foul of that. Now he's got traffic. Kiko's got traffic in that Rafa GR. Just checking, looking around. There's not a mark on that car, Ryan. That car looks like it's rolled off the truck. How, in a race that has been so elbows out, is that car so immaculate? Right, let's go back to the battle we were talking about. Mikey Taylor, Owen Trinkler, Thiago Camillo. So this is from 8th on down, Ryan, heading towards Moss Corner.
Yeah, this is fantastic stuff. And let's get to this in just a second. I do want to clarify one thing. So I said Porto had only pitted once. Obviously, that's not true, but they came in and did a top-off at some point after the whole group pitted one time at the end of the second full course yellow. So they've done one full stop and a top-off, and that's the position they find themselves in. Meanwhile, look at this, side-by-side down the Mario Andretti straight. And, oh gosh, so many fast cars all running here nose to tail. I don't know where to look, John.
Owen Trinkler holding off a whole bunch of cars behind him in the white Mobil 1, the white, blue and grey, white, red and grey car. Ahead of Owen is another Porsche, and that's Mikey Taylor, who for the moment has broken away in the Unitronic. As soon as those cars start going side by side, it gives a Singleton a chance to get away. So Mikey Taylor is 8th. Then there's a little gap back to the second Porsche, the number 91 red, grey and black car. That's VRC. Then Jeff Westphal in the BMW. Then the Pan Am Motorsport, mostly white, Thiago Camillo driven GR Supra. Then Gregory Leofouge, he's coming like a train. Also having made up one position last time around, Robert McGuinness in the Random Vandals white and green BMW, and behind that Kenny Murillo in the Murillo Racing orange Mercedes. We'll sort of keep an eye on that, but it's starting to bubble again at the front of TCR. Mason Filippi still leads, about a 4 or 5 cars gap back to Nate Cicero and Stephen McAleer. Back to Harry Kotsacker and Carl Whitmer. I'm trying to look at 2 different parts of the timing screen at the same time, and my brain can't parallel process that. So this is the battle for 2nd and 3rd, going over the top at turn 2, down into turn 3. Fascinating to me to see the different relative strengths and weaknesses of these little front-wheel drive cars. It looks like Whitmer can maybe just place his car a little bit better, maybe he's looked after his Michelins, but out front, it's the pace of the Hyundai, the 33 in particular, that is just keeping Mason Filippi out of reach of any kind of challenge at the moment, Ryan.
And I do wonder how much Carl Whitmer is fighting with a hand tied behind his back. How much fuel saving is he having to do? Remember, the TCR field pitted with 1 hour and 15 minutes left on the clock. Then a good chunk of what came next was under yellow, so they were able to save fuel, but I don't think it's I think a lot of fuel save is still required in order for these front runners to make it. So I don't know that Whitmer, driving the car that's been about the fastest all weekend long, can really utilize that ultimate pace in that Honda, because he has to be thinking about a fuel number now.
Well, they all came in 53 minutes ago. There's been 5 laps of yellow within that. Now, obviously they take a longer time, but does 5 laps of yellow give them something in the region of 14 minutes, maybe more, of fuel? I'm not sure it does, and not at the pace they're going at the moment. That's the key thing. They're lapping in the mid-25s. They can do mid to high 24s. It's not as if they're cruising around at the moment, Ryan, and now they're coming up they've got to watch out as well for the GS cars coming through them, because Stephen McAleer now is up to the 3rd place battle.
Right, he's been lapping about a second quicker than these TCR front runners over the last handful of laps, so we'll see how quickly he can make his way through this field while they're in a fight of their own. The good news is he's been able to separate himself somewhat from Nate Cicero, who's giving chase. Those are second and third in GS, but the leaders on their strategy. Again, Kiko Porto is the outlier. Right now, it sounds like they're trying to stretch their fuel, according to what Arjuna's been able to track down in the pits, but quite clearly unwilling to give too much away in terms of their strategy here at this stage.
Has 44 seconds of a lead. Now, that's not enough for a pit stop, but it's a heck of a lot of soft pedaling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So if they think there's a way just to save the fuel, I would think that that is a gap that he could nurse, and maybe they do make that number. Look, and they're a yellow away. That's the other thing. A yellow, it does two things. On one hand, it gets them home to the finish. On the other, it punches everything up again. So I'm not sure what the outcome that they would prefer would be at this stage. Maybe Arjuna can get the answer from them, but look, they're trying something a little bit different. Credit to them. And right now, it's got them out in front with a pretty massive lead.
You're talking about something between maybe 13, 14, 15 laps, and he's got a 40-second lead. He can lose a lot of time per lap and not get caught. Now, that's all very well if he's got the fuel to do that. You can't make fuel, but he can certainly use a lot less. Kiko's still lapping at 1:24s. In traffic, Stephen McAleer is actually slower than him at the moment as he comes through that TCR battle. And right with him now is the Nate Cicero-driven McCumbee McAleer. Oh, hang on a minute. There's an interesting battle. Stephen McAleer has the McCumbee McAleer Racing Ford Mustang chasing him down for second spot on the podium. And now Stephen McAleer is ahead of all of the TCR cars that he's been battling. Remember this, 41 seconds. 41 seconds, 19 and a half minutes to go. And at 1:24, 1:25, that's going to be something like 12, possibly 13 laps, 14 at the outset, at the outside rather, to go. Kiko Porto can afford to lose to ease the pace of that Supra by a couple of seconds a lap and still not get caught.
Yeah, that's right. And if it does come down to a splash, keep in mind this is a really short pit lane here. The delta just driving through the pit lane is 23 seconds. And then you would have to add however much time sitting. Yeah, exactly. Really short. I think it's among the shortest on the calendar for Michelin Pilot Challenge. So that then maybe opens up a chance here for Porto to push hard. I mean, again, we don't know, are they saving fuel and trying to stretch it, or because you mentioned his lap times have been fast. I mean, he just did a 23.6. That's only 0.6 of a second off of that car's best. So maybe they're having him push here to build a gap. Then he comes in, tops off to get to the finish, or they get the yellow flag that then guarantees they make it home anyway.
What a decision to make for Rafa Racing and the Toyota GR Supra GT14. Varun Choksi did a great job, the man from Atlanta, Georgia, early on, stayed out of trouble. I mentioned that car looks like it's come off the truck, looks brand new. In traffic at the moment, the leader is in behind Tyler Gonzalez in the Cupra Leon, runs down the field. The Canadian contingent is healthy here. Trevor Hill and Travis Hill, Sam Tan, James Vance, Sam Baker in the same car, and Dean Baker in the other car. So that's 6 there. Then Carl Whitmer and LP Montour, and Mark Wilkins, the 9th of 9. Proud Canadians. Side-by-side action again in that battle further down the field. Gregory Leafouche, and he's under some pressure. Number 92, Robert McGuinness, having a look as well in the M4. Oh, huge sideways slide from the Go Racing orange TCR Audi right ahead of this side-by-side battle. Is that 4 corners that they've gone side by side? Morgan Burkhardt and Robert McGuinness, and finally at turn 1, McGuinness converts the pass, and Kenny Murillo's had a grandstand view of that. The Porsche looks to the inside over the brow. That would have been brave. Oh, but the beam has gone wide, and the Porsche Titans might well just come through ahead. It's 2 by 2 going up the hill on the other side. And this is all the battles for the minor positions. We are talking about positions outside the top 10, but this is a world championship as far as these drivers are concerned, Ryan.
Oh, this is great stuff. Owen Trinkler hanging on to the 9th spot. This would be a huge result for himself and Dan Ammon, just behind Jeff Westphal in 10th. Thiago Camilo, what an up and down day it's been for that car. They had contact early, didn't get a penalty. Contact later, they did get a penalty. Here they find themselves just on the outside of the top 10, and Leofouche is in that fight as well as Murillo starts to track down Robert McGuinness. That's Mercedes reeling in the BMW.
Go for a BDO pit lane report as we've got Murillo side by side. Let's stay with that for a second. Can't quite make the overtaking maneuver through the end of the SS. Kiko Porto has got the hammer down here, Arjuna. 42 seconds,
and
taking time out of the rest of the field. And what is going on down at Rafa?
The crew getting on the wall right now as Kiko Porto slides into the stall. They had tried the gamble, and I don't think it's quite worked out. As the crew gets to work, it's just fuel being put into that car. Let's quickly check in with Varun Choksoy. You tried the gamble, it hasn't quite paid off.
It hasn't paid off for the win, but I think it's still gained us a lot of track position. We were able to run really clean, fast laps. Kiko was doing an awesome job. He was the class of the field just now, so I think in that respect it has paid off. And big credit to the guys on the box for that.
And I think stationary for less than 20 seconds, John. It's going to be close at the front.
He's out. He's going to be out. The McCumbee, or the Macaulay, Stephen Macaulay car is just coming to the final corner now. They've held on to the lead. They've held on to the lead. So you can tell Varun that they've got the lead, and they've got the lead by probably 6 or 7 seconds. Macaulay not even in sight as they were going out of the pit lane speed limited area. That's huge. There's the Michelin moment of the race for me in GS for Rafa Racing. Rolled the dice, stuck with the plan, and they have, at the moment, they have been paid out. That's a straight 21 jackpot.
And it really goes all the way back to that second full course yellow. They were the only ones that I'm aware of that came in and topped off at the end of it. And what that's allowed them to do here is run long. They ran hard. Oh, Michael Cooper, a little contact there with Tim Lewis. Oh, man, that was super close on the front straightaway. But yes, the strategy there was not about saving fuel for Porto. Instead, it was about him running as fast as he possibly could, build a gap, and that gap was big enough, coupled with this short pit lane, they were able to come in, top off, and maintain the lead.
You know, they still had to make that happen. There could be, every time you come down the pit lane, there's jeopardy, isn't there, Ryan? They still had to do that right. They were so calm. And even Varun was saying, well, it's probably meant us that we're not going to win it. They just did their jobs. That is so cool. Definite Michelin moment of the race nominee for me in GS. TCR, I don't even know where to start on that. I'll take that under advisement. Anything that you can help with. Oh, we've got a huge piece of debris. It's an under tray, I think maybe from one of the car-bomb BMWs at Moss Corner. Now, it's not on the racing line. It's all the way to driver's right in the middle of the 2 right-handed corners. I think that might be all right there as the leader goes by. So total time in the pits for Rafa, 43.9 seconds. For Auto Technica in second, 50.9, and the gap is 4.3 seconds. Not quite as big as I thought it was, but that has been the tail of the tape for this lead for the red, white and black number 12 Toyota Supra. This would be a massive result. Supras have done well here in the past though, haven't they?
Yep, it has been a good track for them, and again, all weekend long, the Supras did seem to have a pace advantage. So the strategy that they played here really leaned into that. They got him out in front, and while the other front runners were dealing with that TCR traffic, remember McAleer was fighting his way through the TCR runners. That was compromising his lap time. He also probably is doing a little bit of fuel save as well. No such concerns for Porto, and that raw pace is what allowed them to build the gap big enough to be able to come in and get the top off done.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. James Vance bringing the Baker Racing TCR car in to 4th position. Oh, and we've had an incident coming out the final corner, and it's the Murillo Racing AMG. Kenny Murillo, this is going to be a full course caution with 11 minutes to go. No, he's got it going. Kenny's got it started. I thought he had more damage to the front end. Well, that car's not going very much further, but he'll get it back to the pits, I think. There's been contact with another car, and I think the wall. Front splitter damage, left front wing damage. I thought the bit of bodywork, it looks like yes, it's just shed the inner wheel arch. And that was at a jaunty angle, and I thought to start with that was the wheel at the wrong angle. Kenny is absolutely mad. He's driving that car angry. He's just flicked it over the top of the brow at Quebec corner. Amazingly, with all that damage, yeah, he's losing the front end. He is driving that car like he stole it. He's not happy with what's gone on there, Ryan, at all, is he?
No, and now maybe we'll get to see why. This is through the S's into white corner, late lunge up the inside, and was there a touch? There was a touch, but it looked like maybe that car was starting to go around anyway. That's an interesting one for race control to have to parse through.
Yeah, you're right. When I first saw it, I thought it wasn't going to end well, hence the ooh from me. It was Bill Oberlin in the ST Racing by Random Vandals who made the contact. And now we've got another car that's damaged. And that, I think, is the Cameron Racing car. It is Gregory Leofouge. He's got damage as well. The Turner Motorsport car was the car that actually hit the Murillo Racing car, but that was in avoidance. That car wasn't involved. That would be Robbie Foley down there for Turner Motorsport. This has all got very, very feisty in the last 10 minutes of the race. 8.5 to go, Ryan.
Mechanical black flag, unfortunately, for Greg Leofouge. This car 10th place right now, but will have to come in to deal with the bumper that's hanging off. By the way, a penalty was given to Bill Oberlin, drive-through, for the incident with Kenny Murillo. So race control has seen what they've needed to see, and they have weighed in on that. We also have Evan Slater pitting out of 7th, so it's another top 10 car that is having its day go awry here in the final 10 minutes.
There are going to be people making up positions in GS. Mason Filippi still by 0.2 of a second from Carl Whitmer in the TCR category. 3.5 seconds further back is Harry Gottsager. He's got 4 seconds on James Vance, who's got his teammate Bruno Junqueira running tail gunner for him, and then Tim Lewis makes up the top 6 for KMW in TCR. But at the front of the field, Kiko Porto settles back into a rhythm. The lead went down to just on 4 seconds. And now with a 1:24.1 last time around, the lead is back out to 5. In fact, it's 6 now. 6 seconds for Kiko Porto. Rafa Racing may have pulled off an absolute tactical masterstroke. And that final splash and go at the end was poetry in motion.
Just fantastic strategy from the team. This has not been a great year results-wise for them up to this point. I remember telling you back at Daytona, I thought this lineup was good enough to win a race at some point this year. Frankly, I thought they would do it on the pace alone, but today it was a combination of factors. Admittedly, it's not done yet, so let's not go writing those headlines with 6 minutes, 40 seconds still on the clock here, but this has been a comprehensive performance up to this point. Great driving by the two drivers, and even better strategy and execution in the lane by the team. If they can pull this off, this will be a really well-earned victory for them and a first win for them at the GS level.
How about Owen Trinkler leading in the Bronze Cup as well for VRC? He's not a bronze driver, but his teammate is, and that's important points there in the Aiken Awards. Sorry, no, wrong championship. In the Bronze Cup, should I just say. The number 91 in 10th position for VRC, Robert McGinnis, right there in the BMW behind him. But this will be a major, major result for VRC with Trinkler, one of the most experienced drivers in this championship. Remember, helped TGM to their championship win a couple of seasons ago with an absolute iron-man drive at Daytona in the 4-hour race after he'd been involved in a very scary incident and a fire in their car in testing. And he came back and gave it his absolute full. Ultimately, those points were instrumental in TGM winning the title that year. Good to have Owen back in the paddock.
Yeah, that would be a huge result for them. Their best finish so far this season is a pair of 20th places, so to get a top 10 would be massive for that whole Vintage Racing Company team. Owen Trinkler needs no introduction. If you followed this championship for any amount of time, you know his quality, and that's been on display, although he just lost the 10th place momentarily, at least, to Robert McGinnis. So we'll see if he can fight that back. Even still, a finish up close to the top 10 would be a big, big result for them. At the front in TCR, though, my goodness, Mason Filippi has been dogged basically this entire final stint by Carl Whitmer, and only in the last couple of laps has Filippi been able to start to pull a gap on Whitmer. And I'm reminded of the end of the 4-hour race at Mid-Ohio, where Whitmer finally tracked down his quarry and put the move on in the final lap to take the lead and ultimately the win. I thought maybe something similar could be in the cards here today, but he's now dropped off the pace a little bit, and I wonder if this could be a fuel concern here late in the going.
And I just tapped in with the team, LP Montour and company, saying that it's still marginal on the fuel number, so they're still not sure and confident in getting to that checkered flag as much as they've been putting the pressure on the 33 in the second half of the race.
And Arjuna, while I have you, let's have your nomination, please, for Michelin moment of the race in TCR.
Well, that's a difficult one in some ways because we don't always like to go for the winner. However, that pit stop from the number 33, Brian Herter Autosport crew, to put the car out in front, I think, is my Michelin moment of the race.
Sorry, what was that car number?
Number 33.
Thank you. Yes, that pit stop was absolutely outstanding. Ryan, TCR moment of the race, Michelin moment of the race?
I can't come up with a better option than that one, so sorry. No debate fodder for me, I'm afraid. I'll go with the 33 in the pit stop as well.
I think, unusually again, we're going to have the two winners, aren't we? That are going to take our Michelin moment of the race. We cannot go past Rafa, can we? For the moment of the race, they've won this on speed and on great strategy, but just the cool, calm way they brought that car in for the last splash and held on to the lead when even the co-driver thought they weren't going to keep the lead, Ryan. Surely that's got to be the moment of the race in GS.
It is. I think two other drives deserve some recognition. They don't really fall into the moment category, but remember the 13, which is now in third, and the 44, which is now in sixth in GS. Both of those cars were facing the wrong way in the middle of the first lap of the race. They had dropped all the way to the back of their respective class, or of their class, and look at the recovery that the two of them have had. That's pretty remarkable in and of itself.
Yeah, I think that is hard to look past as well, particularly for Robert Neuecker, who had then to somehow keep his cool and get that car back into a situation. In fact, they're going to lead the points, aren't they, at the end of this race. They'll tidy up the Michelin moment of the race before the checker comes out. A minute and 22 seconds. It'll be this one and one more. Kiko Porto and the Toyota spending just a little over 2 minutes in the pit stop, in the pits for the whole race. Dropped as low as 23rd position. Have played the strategy perfectly well, and both of their drivers have put together an exemplary 2 hours of racing. And in point of fact, Ryan, actually, Ford Kosh did, at the start, Varun Choksi did more than he needed to and stayed out of trouble when it was absolute chaos and carnage all around him.
Yeah, he was right in the middle of that, wasn't he? And did a really good job keeping his head, not getting into any kind of trouble that was happening around him. That car qualified only 15th. So they were right in the middle of it on the opening lap. Give Varun a lot of credit, and then the team and his co-driver Kiko certainly deserve their plaudits as well with the way that the second half of the race has played out.
We are on the final lap, and still there's drama as there's dirt thrown up in front of the TCR leader as they come across to take the white flag. So I think we can say, with under 2 miles to go, the Michelin moment of the race in TCR was the final pit stop for the number 33 crew that will win. Brian Herder Autosport, they turned that car around and got the all-important track position. Just a little bit of a haze coming out the central exhaust of that Hyundai, but that will be the Michelin moment of the race there. And in fact, it's 2 pit stops and 2 winning cars for the Michelin moments of the race, because the splash at the end of the race that kept the lead for Rafa and have allowed them to take the checkered flag is the GS Michelin moment of the race. Supras are on top of the world again at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and Rafa Racing notch up a victory. Varun Choksi is absolutely overwhelmed, as well he should. Brilliant drive by him. Kiko Porto has come in and closed off the deal, and the winner in TCR for Hyundai Elantra and Brian Herder Autosport with Kerbagajanian. 7th place overall in a topsy-turvy race, tight in TCR at the end, with MMG and Baker Racing coming through. Bruno Junqueira, by the way, onto the podium on that last 2 laps. So at the front, Toyota, BMW, Ford, Rafa Auto Technic and Macumbi Makalia Racing. Let's go down to Arjuna and a BDO pit lane report. Plenty going on in the pits.
Absolutely, John. Our colleagues at NBC have grabbed Varun Choksi. I tell you what, let me try and grab some of the celebrations here at the Rafa Racing Club. Team owner Rafa Martinez, what does this mean to the team, your first win in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge?
It's exciting to actually have been able to accomplish it. We've had good chances all year. We had the pace, just had bad luck. We got a penalty today with a drive-through again, and just it's always been something. So happy for the team and happy for the community and for our organization to finally get a win here. And Motorsport's an incredible track, and excited for my own race tomorrow morning. So.
You call it a community, but you're building a community at the Rafa Racing Club. You're going to be showing people behind the scenes of all of this. How cool is the project and being able to show this success off now?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for us, competing at the highest level is everything, and being able to bring people from the ground up and being able to develop them to this level and show them what's possible behind the scenes and everything like that, it's part of the mission, right? So being able to bring people on board with us all behind the scenes and giving the taste of what it's like to win and be able to compete at the front, it's what we're trying to build. So.
Congrats, Rafa. I am going to go and steal Varun Choksoy as well for a quick chat. Varun, you weren't sure during that pit stop sequence if that was going to put you to the front, but the team did the job, and you and Kiko Porto did the job to win this race.
Yeah, I can't thank the team enough. The strategy call was perfect. Kiko was an absolute monster today, and I did my job, so it all panned out the way we'd hoped for.
Congratulations, enjoy it.
Thank you.
Incredible scenes. I think some of the TCR cars have run out on the slowing down lap. Carl Whitmer for MMG's not getting that car back. We've also got the Victor Gonzalez Racing Team 99 car that is not coming back. They did cross the line. This has memories of the HSR NASCAR race that we had at the Classic a couple of weeks ago. All right, subject to post-race inspection. It's Rafa Racing from Autotechnic from Macumbi Macaulay. Great work as well by Stephen. No, that's not what I've got on my screen. I've got Stephen Macaulay in second, actually. Oh yes, that's right, sorry, Macaulay Racing in third. I knew that would catch me out. Stephen did a great job saving fuel at the end there. So that's your top three. Rafa Autotechnic, Macumbi Macaulay Racing. Carte Blanche, another good result for the new team. TGM, Matt Plum bringing the car home in fifth. Moise Retsky, Cooper and Michael Cooper for Ibiza Farms in the McLaren will take sixth place points. Then the winner in TCR, and against all the odds because Honda looked so good, it was Brian Herter Autosport. Brilliant pit stop to get the track position. Then MMG in second, finally getting some just rewards from the last two pole positions. It was Baker Racing the 56 car in third position. Now what happened to the other car for Baker Racing? That car dropped way down, so I wonder if they were tight on fuel as well. Outside the top 10, Carbon in 11th, that would put them 7th in class. Pan Am 8th in class, 9th in class, 13th overall CSM, and the top 10 in GS made up by Robbie Foley bringing home the Turner Motorsport number 96. Then we're back into the TCR cars, and there is the other Baker car. Sam Baker's birthday was not perfect for him, but a podium for the other side of the garage. Then more, what a just mixed up race. Then more GS cars with Random Vandals, VRC. What a result in 17th there for Dan Aman and Owen Trinkler. They are 12th in class. Let's go back down to the pit lane and to Arjuna for a BTO pit lane report.
The championship leaders extend their points advantage. Only one finish outside of the podium positions that start with Bryson Morris. What an interesting race.
Yeah, that was definitely something. We were good on fuel, I can tell you that now. Mason did an awesome job holding off the Honda there at the end, and then they had to back off eventually, which let us breathe a little bit, but not fully. Now we can breathe, so yeah, Mason's just the best. I love him as a teammate, and yeah, he's awesome.
And Mason Filippi did the job at the end. Mason, I'm curious, what was that last stint like for you behind the wheel?
It was long, it was a lot of fuel targets. I mean, Bryson handed over a great car. He did a ton of setup work with running double duty, so man, his drive was incredible too. Our Hyundai Hope on Wheels, the launch trend TCR car, led a lot of the race. It was incredible. I mean, our Brian Herter Autosport guys as well. That stop that put us in the front of the queue that did the pit stop was amazing. So just super thankful for everybody. Can't wait for the next one.
Team effort, congratulations on the win.
Brilliant stuff. Problems at the bottom of the field for some of the championship runners. I am going to set Ryan and Arjuna a little task, actually. Right Turn Lover, talking about our new team, YRB. YRB is Nunavut's airport code in Canada. So any AMR and any Aston Martin racing F1 relationships or people involved that are something to do with Nunavut, there's your connection to YRB and the new team. Unofficial in terms of the championship results, the GS class has been turned upside down after that result, Ryan.
Oh, it totally has. So Cicero and Noaker came into this weekend 4th in points. They now, by my math, take the championship lead by 30 over Moise Uretsky and Michael Cooper, who stay in 2nd place. But just behind, it's the Crines and McAleer pairing with their runner-up result today. They're only 40 points out of the championship lead. Now, those that took a big hit include McAvern and Mars. They had their issues early on, only finished 23rd, only scoring 80 points today. And so I think they now are 140 points out of the lead, having come into the weekend as the leaders. And Bryce Ward also, so unfortunate for him. They had the damage that wouldn't stay down, that hood that called them to the pit lane multiple times. Only scores 100 points with a 21st place result, and unofficially at least now 190 points out of the championship lead.
TCR, as we heard, championship lead extended for the 33 crew. Brilliant team effort today.
It was, and it really started there in the pit stop. You heard Mason Filippi referenced that in the interview with Arjuna, but I think his point was a great one to give Bryson Morris credit. Mason's doing double duty this weekend with Pilot Challenge and WeatherTech, which meant Morris was really focused on driving this from a setup perspective, and Mason was quick to give him his kudos for that. But it's now a 200-point lead in the championship for those two over their teammates, DuPont and Brown. That's a pretty sizable advantage, but not insurmountable, as we've talked about. And there are 3 other crews that are, make that 4 other crews that are there or thereabouts. Not too terribly far out of 2nd place right now.
200 points, not huge, but it's a decent cushion at this part of the season. Ryan Marine was with me, John Hindhaugh in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna Kangapati, our technical crew on site and up at Concord, North Carolina, have been doing a great job today. We're going to take a short breath and prepare ourselves for WeatherTech SportsCar Championship qualifying, which is our next live broadcast in sound and vision. I'm John Hindhaugh for the moment from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. What a race, and well done to Rafa Racing, their first of what I'm sure will be many victories in the Michelin Pilot Challenge and IMSA competition. Bye-bye.